All right, the technique this week you guys are going to learn is a deadlift. Spend a couple days working on different types. First of all, with the deadlift is a power lift. It's not an Olympic lift. All right, Olympic lifting, your goal is to go from ground to overhead with weight. Powerlifting is completely different. There's 3 moves to powerlifting. Your deadlift, your back squat, your bench press. So don't get those confused. We're going to teach you the 4 major kinds that you probably see in this gym. First one will be the traditional that we use regularly. Then we have a sumo deadlift, a deficit deadlift, and a Romanian deadlift. And respectively, that's how often you see them. So most often, down to less often. So come over here, we'll start with how to pick out a bar. We've got different bars. First, the girl bars. All right, I'm always going to yell at the girls and tell the girls to get off the girl bars when they're powerlifting. All right. The girl bars have a smaller handle on them, so you can get a better grip, or hook grip, when you're pulling. So if you have a small hand, you have a smaller bar. Typically, girls have smaller hands, so they have a thinner bar. They can grab it when they pull with a hook grip. Well, when you're powerlifting, you don't need a pull. All right, you're not snatching, you're not cleaning. So there's no point to get a lighter bar and then add weight. Just get a solid bar. All right, these bars can handle a lot more. Specifically, if you look over here, we have an axle bar, some Olympic lifting bars. Then we have some that if you were to grab them, you can barely hook grip them. They're a lot thicker. Those are going to be your best choice for powerlifting. All right, your powerlifting, most of the time, especially your deadlift, is going to be very heavy, several hundred pounds. So you don't want to be doing several hundred pounds on a girl bar. You want to do that on a nice, fat, thick bar, something with 2,000 pound capacity. So I'm going to grab this all black bar here. Obviously, if we run out of all black bars, then you're going to grab one of the Oli bars. But if you have a heavy deadlift, 500 pounds or more, go for the powerlifting bars. So we're going to load it up with some lightweight, just so I can get the barbell off the ground. I'll show you what the technique will be. All right, I'm not going to clip it for demonstration purposes, but we would like you to clip it, especially in a workout. I always say if it's multiple reps, go ahead and clip your bar. If it's singles, there's no reason, because all you're going to do is just add weight. So there's no point to clip it if you're going to add weight. So get whatever angle you think is best. So first thing I want to do is I want to get my feet underneath my hips, which we've already established is the best position, or the strongest position for me is to have my feet directly underneath me. I don't really want to be wider when I go for a traditional. I want to have my feet closer in, square underneath me. Now what that's going to do is create the greatest distance between me and the bar. So we'll get into the sumo and going wider, but for this one, we're going to have our feet in close, directly underneath us. I think the best way I've learned how to set yourself up for a deadlift is to put your shoelace knots, or where your shoelace knots would be, if you don't have them, directly underneath the bar. From there, without moving the bar, go down and grab the bar, and then lower your hips down until your shins contact the bar. All right, that will put you in the perfect position for a deadlift. Shoelace knots directly underneath the bar. So my shins are not going to be right up to the bar. I'm actually going to be a few inches back behind. Reach down, grab the bar just outside of my knees, and then from there bring my knees forward and my butt down. Give me a nice flat back, and from there I'm ready for my deadlift. Here, up. First thing I want to do when picking that bar up is clear my knees, okay? I'll show you what that looks like good, and a couple reps back. So from here, I want to get those knees back out of the way, and then I'm going to push my hips through. I want to make sure that my knees and hips are pushed all the way through and locked out at the top, fully extended. And then when I go to put the bar back down on the ground, I'm going to slightly bend my knees, but really I'm going to wait until that barbell gets past my knees before I lower the bar all the way down or bend my knees all the way down to get the bar to the ground. So what I'm saving myself is dragging that bar over my kneecaps. That's what you do not want to do. Okay? So from here, a bad way of lifting would be pulling my chest back before my knees are back, and then I'm dragging up my shins. I don't want to do that. And on the way down, same thing. I don't want to bend my knees first. Now I'm dragging the bar down my knees on my way down. Okay? You should not have the bloody shins going on, not in Olympic lifting and not in powerlifting. Okay? Sometimes it happens because you are keeping that barbell close, but you don't want to be grinding up your shins. All right? You want to set yourself up here. Knees come back, and then hips come through. On the way back, hips go back. Now I can bend my knees once the bar has cleared my knees. All right? Full extension at the top is really important. What you see a lot of with bad reps is the barbell coming up, and the knees get bent to pull the shoulders and hips through, but that's still a bad rep because you're not locked out. You need to have full extension of the legs and hips in order for that rep to count. All right? So that's your traditional deadlift. One variation you can do with your hands, you can turn one hand around. When I coach, I just say, hey, turn one hand around. I never tell you which hand to turn around because it's going to be different for each person. For me, I turn my left hand around. All right? So I have a reverse grip on the bar. You have 4 fingers on one side and 1 finger on the other. You grab the bar, you're now 8 and 2. If you switch your grip around, you have 4 fingers on one side and 4 on the other, and it's a lot stronger of a grip. Okay? So whether it's here for you or here for you, that reverse grip is going to help you out a little bit, so you're not having to rely on those fingers to stay shut and the barbell rolling out of your hand. All right, next is a sumo deadlift. All right, that's going to be about twice the width. If I'm about here with my traditional deadlift, I'm going to go twice as wide, all the way out. And there's 2 ways to grip it. You can grip it right here. You can grip it right in the middle. You're going to notice that the powerlifting bars have knurling in the middle, and that's where you want to grab it. If you have an Olympic lifting bar, and that bar happens to not have any knurling in the middle, that's going to be a lot harder to grip. So I usually try to go a little bit wider on my grip, because if I try to do a reverse grip here, usually the heavier I go, I end up turning the barbell. So I kind of want a little bit of a wider grip so my barbell doesn't twist on me. That's my own personal preference, all right? So if it's not too heavy, you can maintain that regular grip here, then you can grab a close grip in. The setup is going to be exactly the same, and the finish is going to be exactly the same, but your range of motion is a little shorter, and you are putting a little bit more stress on different muscles than you would in the regular deadlift, or the traditional deadlift. So sumo deadlift is a little bit different, has a different purpose, but again, we see it less often. The deficit deadlift is just increasing the range of motion of your deadlift to where you're actually having to reach down below where you normally reach. So here, that barbell hits my shin in the same spot with whatever plates I decide to have on there. Now, these are all Olympic plates, these are all bumper plates, and they're all going to be the same standard size. Now, if you were to go to Globo Gym or any gym with steel plates, most likely the 45 pound plates are going to be this big, and then you got like 35s, 25s, 10s, and all the way down. The plates get smaller. So what you could do is you could load up a bunch of 25s on your bar, and your bar will be now lower to the ground, and you'd have to reach a few inches shorter to grab that barbell, getting you that deficit. The other option, if you're in a CrossFit gym like this, and all you have is the same size plates, you can go ahead and get yourself up elevated onto something. In this case, it's a 44-pound plate. That's going to give me that 3 inches depth. Now you can see the barbell is pretty close to my shoes. And it's going to completely change my range of motion. It's going to increase my range of motion. All right, my setup is still the same. My back is still the same. Everything's still going to be correct on the way up and on the way down. I'm just increasing that range of motion and going a little bit deeper. Lastly, the Romanian deadlift. This is going to definitely vary upon each person and your flexibility. What I recommend for everyone with the Romanian deadlift is a traditional deadlift, the bar up, and then start your Romanian deadlift style or your RDL from the top. Because not everyone's going to have the flexibility to reach all the way down to the floor. I'm particularly one with really bad flexibility. So I don't want to start my Romanian deadlift off the ground because there's a good chance I may round my back. So if you get on the side, you can see what I'm talking about. So I want to have my legs not locked, but I want to have them straight. All right. So again, I'm not going to lock them all the way back. I'm just going to keep them keep a vertical shin. Okay. So from here, that's pretty low for me. And I probably have some roundness in my back. All right, so I don't want to pull it straight off the ground that way. Instead, what I like to do is traditional deadlift up. Now, bring my shoulders back, keep my butt out. My legs are going to be straight, not locked. Go as low as I can without rounding my back. Now I'm going to come up. For some of you, maybe just here and back up. Others, especially females, with better flexibility, is going to be a lot lower. But what I don't want to do is round my back here to get greater depth. Okay? I just want to keep my legs straight as low as I can. Right about there is where I start to feel my hamstrings lock out, and I can't go any lower unless I round my back. So I'm going to stop there and come up. Okay? Pushing my hips through, not using my legs. So I should have no leg movement. It's all going to be in the hips, down and up, again, down and up. So not the bend of the knee. Just removing that bend in the knee. That's your Romanian deadlift or your RDL. That is definitely something that should not be done for time. So we teach you in the technique so you know what it is, when to use it, how to do it safely. However, it's not something that you should be going really fast, really heavy weight on, so you're not going to see it in a while. Last important thing, tying back into the first thing I said, the deadlift is a power lift. Powerlifting is a sport, so we're going to respect the sport. We're going to adhere to the rules of the sport. And the rules of powerlifting say that you have to return your deadlift back down to the ground. That's a little different than you see in CrossFit. So, when you're trying to establish a 1, 3, 5 rep max or whatever, anything that is actually from the sport of powerlifting, you must return the barbell back down to the ground. If it's a CrossFit workout, there's some leniency there. You may see a lot of this, up and drop at the top, and that's okay. Again, for a CrossFit workout, depending on what your coach says, most of the time, in fact 95, 99% of the time in this gym, you must return all deadlifts back down to the ground. You're not allowed to drop it, unless your coach tells you. Alright, so again, you see it in competition. It's allowed in competition for CrossFit, but in this gym, when we are powerlifting, we're going to adhere to the sport's rules, in which case, your rep is not complete at the top, but once that barbell is back down on the ground with your hands in it. Alright? When it comes to multiple reps, you also can't slam the barbell down. A good indication of slamming it or bouncing it is the bent elbow at the bottom to get those reps knocked out. We don't want to see any of that stuff, okay? So we want to respect the sport that the movement comes from and do it the way the professionals do it. And that's where you're going to get the greatest benefits. So go ahead and do it that way. for this sport and every other sport for that matter. And that's it.